I'm Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys. We've got an exciting video today. It's about our X-S1 brand new X series camera. Now this is quite a different X series camera. Of course, at first we introduced the famous X100.
X100.
Next came what we called his little baby brother, the X10. Okay. Now the X-S1 obviously is quite a different form factor. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this video, but just to point out a couple key things. This is the exact same sensor and the exact same processor as you get on the X10.
So this is 2/3 inch CMOS
2/3 inch
sensor.
EXR CMOS sensor and the new EXR processor. And so certainly if you've read any of the reviews on the X10 specifically around image quality, you know what to expect from the X-S1. So again, we've got again the same sensor and processor there, but this has a very unique and a brand new Fujinon lens. It's a 26 times manually zooming lens. Billy's going to go into a little bit of the build quality and the construction of this lens a little bit later, but all I can tell you is it is super smooth and a super tack sharp lens. So Billy's going to go through us on this video pretty much all the settings and the different dials on this camera, and this is simply the first look video. So Billy, why don't you take it away, please?
Okay, thanks, Greg. Again, once you pick it up, you know it's really in the X series lineup. Built quality wise, feels great, very well made. You know, if you look at the bottom and everything, it looks like a true digital SLR.
Sure.
Although this camera in this category, it's really more of the bridge style cameras that have a sort of fixed lens, but gives you a lens that really covers the range. So let's just talk about the lens on the camera. Looking at it, of course, that's one of the key points. It is a manual zooming lens. It starts off at 24 millimeter, equivalent to 35, goes all the way down to 624. If you look at the actual barrel itself, as you can see, that's metal. The front is also metal, and that's also metal. And the smoothness of this is unbelievable, just like the X10, in terms of how smooth the zoom is on that. So that's a nice feature. Of course, the lens in front of you is an f2.8 to 5.6. And basically at around 105, 135 millimeters, it still keeps it as an f4. So it still gives you some very nice shallow depth of field control, even at the full zoom on that. So looking at the front, of course, it does have a filter ring on the front. It is approximately 62 millimeters. You don't have to buy any special adapters. You can just stick in a commercially available filter as you like. Again, it's an f2.8 to 5.6 lens. Now, if we look at the front of the camera, of course, we have the focus controls. We have the manual focus, the autofocus, continuous autofocus, and also the single autofocus. The manual focus itself has a nice ring.
I love it.
This is actually a completely different design. It's rubberized. It's very, very smooth, ultra smooth. And I can tell you from using the manual focus on this camera, it is a step up from all the cameras we have that offer manual focus. Just like an SLR, actually. Very, very smooth, very fast.
And you can use that while shooting movies as well, right?
That's correct, and that's another nice key feature. Looking at the front of the camera, we still have the two stereo microphones. As Greg mentioned, it does record full HD video, so you have stereo recording on that. There's an AF assist lamp in the front. You also have your shutter release button, slightly angled, so that it gives you a little bit more of that
Nice
easier ergonomics grip to it. The on and off switch as well is attached to that shutter release as well. So that's just a quick look at the front of the camera. If we look at one of the sides of the camera now, we have the pop-up flash. And the flash kind of pops forward, so it sort of passes on because of the long zoom and the large size of this lens. It needs to pass that front portion of the camera. You have the strap for the left side of the strap. You also have the speakers, and we have a little cover here that covers basically the audio-video out, which is the standard audio-video. You have a HDMI port, so it's a mini HDMI connector on it. You have your standard USB connector. And what's new for this camera, of course, is the stereo microphone input. So now you have an external mic where you can use something like that and have it attached now so that you can avoid any sound that's coming from the camera, which is going to be awesome, whether you use a boom mic to stick on or you have some of these lapel mics like that. So that's the little cover there. If we take a look at the other side of the camera, you have basically the other strap where you attach. You have the memory card slot here. So again, if you have this on a tripod and you're filming, you can easily switch the cut out. Very similar to, of course, the HS20 design in that sense. All around the camera itself, it's surrounded by a nice, rubberized, textured feel. Nothing looks cheap out of this camera at all. It really is in the X series of class of camera. So that's, again, just a side. If we take a look at the bottom of the camera now, as you can see, it looks very much like the S5 Pro that we had. Build quality looks very, very good. You have, again, a tripod socket that's metal in design. This is the battery cover as well, and you flip it open. Of course, this is one of the first cameras that we've used. We did offer it before that uses a lithium-ion battery in our S1 and S100 and S200 series. This one uses the same batteries as the X100, so it's the NP95 battery, and gives it a battery life of over 400 shots per charge, about 500 shots if you're using the electronic viewfinder. So that's just a bottom look of the camera. If we take a look at the top of the camera now, as I can describe to you, of course, we have the, as I mentioned, the shutter button with the on and off switch. We have the continuous shooting button that gives you access to the high-speed shooting.
Yeah, several modes for high-speed shooting.
You also have the bracketing feature that can be found right there. You have your exposure compensation button that you push down. And then, of course, you have your command dial here that you can rotate left and right to adjust things like the exposure compensation or any other options, whether it's an ISO selection or even the bracketing mode. You can just rotate that as a command dial. Of course, you also have your function 1 button, which leads me to obviously show you the function 2 button on this camera, which is, of course, a nice feature to have. It, I think, defaults just to the super intelligent zoom that's on this camera. Even though this camera has a very long zoom, there is a special digital zoom portion that increases the sharpness and quality and gives you double the zoom range and still holds that full resolution as well as giving you good qualities. We got the mode dial, again, like the X10, it's the EXR mode with a bunch of other options, including full manual controls, aperture, shutter controls. We have 3 custom settings now on the camera, so you can save 3 different options that you like shooting with, whether one that's more sharp and has less contrast to other pictures that maybe are black and white and whatnot. It saves that. Of course, you also have the advanced dial on the top that allows you to shoot things like the 360 panoramic stitch. Continuing on the top, of course, we have the hot shoe. It does support full TTL with Fuji Flash, which we'll show you in a second. And again, that's just a quick look at the top of the camera. Let's take a look now at the back of the camera. Of course, right off the bat, you'll see that it has a tilting LCD screen, very similar to that of the HS20, which means it's great for taking low-angle shots or shots that are kind of above you. So that's a great feature to have. You have the electronic viewfinder. This new electronic viewfinder is the same one found on the X100, so it has a lots of resolution, about
1.4 million
1.4 million dots.
The other thing I like about this one, Billy, is the nice size of that eyepiece. It's really easy to get your eye in there and get the full view of the EVF, whereas a lot of them, not so much on our cameras, but a lot of the competitors' cameras, very small, very uncomfortable to put your eye up to. This, I can tell you, you'll have to see it to really feel for yourself, but I can speak that it's very, very familiar and comfortable feeling.
Yeah, if you used the X100 before, the quality is just the same. Again, Greg mentioned it's very, very large. You do have the diopter adjustment on the side. You have the EVF LCD button, which you can switch between having the LCD on, the EVF on, or even the auto sensor detecting whether your eyes come up to the screen itself. We have moved the movie record button, which records obviously HD video, and we moved it up so it's out of the way of your thumbs, but you do have access to it so that you can record HD video in basically any mode settings without having to go to a specific mode, which is great. Absolutely. There's a lot of controls options on the side of the camera. We have the playback button. We have the AE/AF button, which changes the metering as well as the focusing points. It also acts as the zoom in, zoom out button as well. We now have a dedicated ISO button, which is great. Quick access to the ISO controls as well as the auto ISO option. We also have the white balance button as well to give you direct access to that. And of course, the two buttons double as one, the info button. So when you do playback, you can see some of the shooting information, as well as the quick delete button on the back of that camera, which is great. We have the AEAF lock button. And that button basically is similar to the X10 and the X100. It allows you to lock the exposure and or focus. It's fully customizable. We have the directional pad. No longer is there any rotating, so it's going to be a lot easier to not accidentally push a button. You have a couple things here. You got your self-timer button, your flash button, your macro button. So the macro is, there's also a super macro that goes down to about 1 centimeter. You have the function 2 button, and that one can be, again, set up to be any function you want, whether it's enabling the face detection or enabling sort of a manual focus zooming, so that if you do manual focus, you can push that button quickly up, and now you can adjust focus, and it magnifies the center of the screen. And again, that could be customized for the F1 or F2 function buttons. You got your display button that toggles through the different displays on the camera, from no information to a histogram or even a customized screen where you can fully customize the displays, again, just like our X series cameras. And of course, you got the dedicated RAW button as well. So the great thing with that is that with the Fuji cameras, they shoot such great JPEG right off the camera that a lot of times people just shoot JPEGs, and when they feel like they need to get a black and white shot, they'll push the RAW button, take that picture, and have the ability to convert to black and white and color, without forcing you to shoot black and white and not being able to get back to that again.
We've always had the best JPEGs in the business.
And that's correct. And I think a lot of people who've now shot with the Fuji camera are so shocked and surprised and how good that is. So that's just a quick look around on the new X-S1 camera from Fuji, the newest X series member of the lineup.
Well, that's a great review. We've learned basically all the bells and buttons there, but I just want to finish off by talking about a few accessories we have. So as Billy mentioned, the camera does take, with this dedicated hot shoe, one of currently 2 of our automatic dedicated TTL flashes, the EF20 and the EF42. The EF20 is a smaller guide number, and it does tilt to the ceiling. The EF42, much more powerful flash, and also tilts and rotates. So those 2 flashes are accessories just like for our X10 and X100 as well. Also, as Billy mentioned, it does take a 62 millimeter filter. Any commercially available 62 millimeter filter will do. And of course, we have a remote release. Now, unlike the X10 and X100, this does not have a manually threading cable release. So you simply take the RR80, which is an accessory sold by Fuji, and it plugs into the USB port that Billy pointed out on the side there. And you use it for all the reasons why you'd want to use a cable release. And it does lock, in case you're wondering, for doing timed exposures and things like that. You can easily lock it there on the button. So
perfect.
I am so excited to try this camera personally. Can I borrow it this weekend? Anyways, till next video, make sure you check us out on YouTube on our channel. Subscribe there so you'll get all our videos, and also hook up with Billy on Twitter. And until then, my name is Greg.
And I'm Billy.
And we're the Fuji Guys.